Welcome to episode 20 of It's Server Time. It's been a while since we have ran a show, so I'm going to introduce everybody. We've got Mix, the man that has no team right now, but was part of the fabled Cloud9 project. Oh, it was a messy time. It was a messy time for Mix, but right now he's looking for a gig. So give this
Team
guy
Hopper extraordinaire.
Yeah, give this guy a job. Give this guy a goddamn job because he needs a job. Get him off his ass. All right.
My
then
kids,
we got
my poor kids.
his family. His family. He's got
my family, my grandchildren. Come on.
Yeah, your grandchildren. That's why he can't move to Europe. Just kidding. He can. He can go anywhere. This man is not tied down.
Australia,
like
Japan.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
As long as he's not working at 2 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
He just needs to move to the time zone that he's working in. All right. We got Note, who is infamous for his fights with Professor, his boss, on Twitter. This guy is literally just telling his boss to shove it, and then his boss gives him even more work. So we've got Note, HLTV writer, of course, staff writer.
It's true, I did do like 6 articles in a row today or something. So you know what? That's very relevant.
They're working you harder than a 3BO3 day on an ESL desk. All right, and then we've got Pronogo, who is usually the guy pressing the buttons here. He tried to put together his own shows and everything, and some of those were good. I like the VU one. I like the VU show. I think a lot of people like that.
I think everybody besides VU liked the VU show, which is why we're no longer doing it.
It's just VU would stick his neck out a little bit too much. And I think he actually asked me about that. He's like, "Do you think this is gonna hurt my chances of getting jobs?" And I was probably. Like, honestly, maybe, because you're shit talking a lot of people constantly. But you know what? It was still great entertainment. I'm pretty sure I watched every episode while it happened. So
that's high plaudits because you're a very busy man. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, but 2x speed. So don't not.
Listen, you guys I'm the same way. 2x speed everything.
Not the 1x treatment.
Do you guys ever think about like if like players or just like other people in the scene ever just like watch your shit? It's like, this guy's a fucking idiot.
I have gotten a few followbacks from some pros, so I do know that they probably do think I'm an idiot. Thankfully.
Yeah. I mean, I think people told me that Alex from Fnatic now or previously Cloud9 would watch a lot of this stuff, and yet he never followed me. So Alex, if you're out there, respond by following me.
There it is.
Dude, I'm Alex's like biggest like fanboy on like the CSGO subreddit. Like anytime I see him mentioned, I'm just in there. I'm like,
got the Google alert.
Yeah. Constantly mixed with the verified on Reddit, singing the praises of Alex. But let's get into the topics for the day. The first thing is we're obviously all watching the major, and there was a rule that was so hot we had to bring it out before anything else, before the games, before anything else about the production. The coach rule. And note, why don't you take us maybe through a little bit of what makes this coach rule such a hot topic? Like why are people up in arms about this?
Okay, well, first of all, like a lot of Valve things, it sort of just came out of the blue. Apparently, yes. So from what I heard, it was actually in place from the start of the Challenger stage, but it wasn't actually enforced very strictly up until towards the end of it or the start of the Legend stage.
Right.
And so that's sort of when it came out with Zonic tweeting about it, and it sort of blew up. And the gist of it is that Valve has now said that coaches cannot have any form of a reaction, whether it be physical, so like they can't fist bump players anymore, for example, after a round, or they also cannot have any form of exclamation, so they can't shout after a round win, they can't yell nice, the famous coaching phrase, of course. So obviously Zonic has received like a 30% nerf to his coaching ability.
Still won MVP today if you're going by Astralis' Twitter. Still got the MVP for their match.
That's true.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's basically the gist of it is that coaches can no longer have any form of communication or impact outside of tactical timeouts. So four times the match essentially, and that's what a lot of people are taking issue with. And there's also some very questionable arguments coming out on Twitter in favor of the rule.
All right, Mix. I mean, you are obviously the most tenured coach of all of us. I mean, how does this feel if you were standing behind people and this rule came out?
I mean, just in general, it's such a shitty feeling because it's like continuing this trend of Valve just like actively like pushing your role down as much as they can, like just obviously like just they don't want you to be here, kind of feels like. And like I don't really understand because it's like there's like these arbitrary things. They're like, well, you could fist bump someone and it could mean a certain thing. It's like, yeah, you could, but A, you can't do that in a match. B, you can't do that even like you can't do that in a way where it's going to be like actually meaningful and have any impact really, because CS is so much more complicated than that than just being like go B, you know, like that. If you're actually trying to do that, you're going to cause like so many more problems than like what you're actually going to like help. Like it's just that's not going to be helpful at all. So like the most you can do is just be like you can like check a fist bump and maybe that means you should like watch out for something or something, just like random shit like that. And like feels like Valve just has such like a disconnect with like what sports like how people view like esports or like top tier competition, right? They want it to be like, oh, it's 5v5. You and your friends could play a fucking major too, beat all these teams. It's like no one believes that. That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Like I'd at least like it so that it's like you could have such like a unique esport, like unique experience like with CS:GO by letting coaches like either just call during freeze time or like I mean in the past I don't know. I can understand why people wouldn't want to see this, but I felt it would have been super interesting to see coaches being the IGL taken to like an actual like new level. Because people say, oh, you can just get 5 fraggers and you know it'll be fine, but that's not how that works at all. Like you still need people that mesh together, like with roles. Not everyone can be equal, like still. So even if you're doing that, like that's not how that works at all. And it could add this like super cool dynamic of like being more like real sports. Some sports where like you know the coaches are very active, they're very important in your team. The players are still there. The players are still going to be the most popular people on the team, but like the coaches will be popular. People will enjoy getting a new coach, you know, things like that. It'll actually like have meaning. But like even if you're just doing it in like freeze time, right? So where you can have an impact during the round, especially then, if you can only call during freeze time, you still need an IGL because you can't just call something at the start of every round and then win matches like consistently like that by just having like someone like someone still has to be someone has to be a mid rounder.
No one plays like that. No one plays from out of spawn
and, like,
completely.
And it's like, and the coach can't call every single round because you're gonna have such a disconnect there if like the guy is only mid rounding all the time, right? Like, it's just not feasible. Like, it's literally not feasible. What Valve sees and like the issue they see with it, I think just doesn't even exist. And I think I understand like kind of what they see, but to me, it's like actually just pointless.
Yeah, I have a feeling that when you look at the way that this major's opening stages have gone, before we get to the arena, there's going to be a lot of people who look back at this and think like it was a huge misfire on the side of Valve. But not just that, I feel it's not just related to the coaches either, because I've also taken notice that there's not been really any mic'd up segments where we just have the teams themselves saying nice after a win. Like, I mean, for all the memes that will come out of the heroic celebration and the criticism afterwards, we didn't even get to hear it as viewers. Like, there was no audio at all from the players themselves, and it feels way more hollow.
There's no like player cams, there's no like reactions from players, and like even during a match, right?
Yeah.
Like the most emotion you're gonna see during the match from a team is from the coach, because that's the guy that's not actively in front of their PC having to think about what they're buying, what they're doing next. Often that guy's like he's like the emotional leader of the team.
And he almost lets the other players release that inner like emotional charge that they have. You hear that explosive nice behind you. I'm sure that has a pretty good effect, because at least somebody said something about it.
And as a fan, you like seeing like, you know, actual emotion coming from your team. You like seeing that. You like seeing them get hyped up. If you know a team loses, you like seeing what the coach is doing. You know, like how is he reacting to that, rather than just having to sit there just like, you know, just fucking emotionless the entire time. It's like that's not enjoyable to look at. Like I want to see emotion. Like that's part of what makes watching shit like this so good.
So I'll come with the counter here. That's just that I totally get why Valve wants to just use these draconian laws on coaches and just enforce it so strictly, because when you like we just in a way it's hard to trust coaches right now with how bad everything went with the match fixing. I mean, not the match fixing, even though that is bad. But obviously the coach bug, basically, you know, that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And for Valve, I get it. And it's just like, if Hunden never did that, and if nobody ever did that, then I don't think this rule would be in place. I think we all could probably agree with that. There's like Valve did clamp on coaches in terms of the fact that they can't talk during rounds. And I think that's a different discussion, but the lengths that people will go to now to cheat, the whole hypothetical before is like, oh, surely people wouldn't do that. Now we know now people will do things to get any edge possible. And at a tournament like the Major, it would in fact be the most beneficial for people to cheat, because if you have a deep run at the Major, then you're probably securing your contract for another year. So there's incentive beyond the prize pool, the fact that you're going to have stability and future chances. So I don't see that there needed to be I wish there were a better middle ground, but for Valve's point of view, I totally get this one. And I usually dislike a lot of the things that Valve does. And this is one where it kind of felt to me that their hands were tied in how do we enforce that coaches don't cheat? And this is a way to do it. And, obviously it feels so ridiculous to think of what can someone saying nice, like, actually change in terms of how a team plays for the next round. But in the middle of a round, then it starts to get a little weird. What if it's like he's like nice, or let's go guys, or you guys can bring this back, or something like if he has code words for all these different possibilities, then
I feel like this is where referees should actually have a fucking role in esports, right? Like,
yeah,
there should be someone that's able to watch over that.
Standing wordlessly and motionlessly behind the teams doing nothing.
Surely it can be that difficult to train.
But one thing that Mikhail pointed out, so one of the former head referees for ESL and now freelance ref, one of the things he pointed out is that as a ref, they have no idea what people are saying in their languages.
Yes.
So it's not strictly English communication, first of all. But the issue I take with that whole perspective is that this seems like a massive overreach in terms of the way to correct the specific situation. First of all, because nobody knew it was coming in advance. Secondly, because the other part of this issue is that it's become such a weird middle ground that doesn't actually work for any party that's in this whole situation. Like, if you don't want the coaches to react to this whole situation at all, then move them into a separate room or put them behind the player on their own PC where they can have all the perspectives, and then they can react on their own without it influencing the players. But you can't have them standing behind the players who are going to celebrate immediately after the round, who have emotions running through them throughout the entire match, and expect them to remain still and silent, especially after you've had years of all of these players and coaches celebrating together.
No, I really didn't mind. I don't know how Valorant has it set up at the moment, but I really didn't mind how they at least had it set up at their first LAN, where it was like the coaches had their own separate booth away. Yeah. They had their own PCs, and they were also allowed to have the assistant coaches with them, surrounding them. And I actually don't even think that's a bad solution, because it gets the entire staff kind of a bit more involved, and that becomes a bit more important during the game. Obviously, you can control a lot more when someone has their own PC, what they're seeing or what they can say over TeamSpeak, and you can still have it be like that, and then they can talk during freeze time at the end of the round, so that you're getting emotion from the coach, just things like that. The coach is still the one that's the most separated, so you'll probably still see the most emotion going through him often. So I don't know, I felt that was a pretty good solution. I kind of liked how they did that.
I'd much rather that.
Yeah. Rather than the coach have to sit just right behind the player, just not doing anything. I feel it's just weird.
I also think that the coach having their own booth and being able to change their spectator spot at will is probably just a level up for coaching in general in the space. So if a CS tournament runs with the coaches actually having their own terminal that they can look at through the game at, and they can do whatever they're doing, assuming they're not joining as a coach, the way that obviously we had the coach bug being exploited. If they are just GoTV spectating but doing it live, I'm assuming there's some way that they can do that, that should be totally valid, and that would be a way that they could also just add value to their team, because they're not looking through some other bird's eye view. They're actually looking at what the players are seeing, but they're looking at it with a set of eyes. We've all backseat gamed when we see a streamer playing, or we see something that they don't see, or whatever the case may be. So that would be a very easy way, I think, for them to go that route. If they wanted to allow coaches to be, if they really care so much about fair play and leveling the playing field, I mean, there's a lot of lower hanging fruit they could have gone for at this very tournament, as we'll probably talk about later with the whole Legend stage potentially not even being played from the studio entirely, as an example.
Also, on that note, though, Valve were informed of this bug something like a year or two ago, and they still didn't deal with it. So if you're talking about fair play about this whole situation, Valve did not deal with this
also
bug
be able to take
before it
you
actually
just say,
rose.
"Oh, you guys chose to cheat," but it's in any top tier esport or sport, it doesn't matter what it is. People are literally going to look for every single edge and advantage they can find, even if it's exploiting a bit. Because you have to understand the human element of it, where people's careers, their lives, their passions are all on the line. And so sometimes, especially when you feel threatened by other people that are coming up, people, it's not like you still should get punished for it, right? But people are going to often find ways they can to like exploit and manipulate certain things if they feel it'll give them an advantage.
Yeah,
Especially if they feel they won't get caught.
As long as we're bringing up examples of those specific aspects, I think it's kind of laughable that 3 out of the maps that we have in the pool, out of 3 of them, there are options for you to just see shit through walls. There's obviously the Inferno one that was made famous in the Astralis Spirit series the other day. There's Vertigo, where your bags stick out on T side when you're going up towards Ivy. There's Mirage, where you can just get your head seen through if you crouch in the middle of a jump. Great, thanks. You know, all right. I guess there's probably even more that I'm forgetting.
Don't look.
Just don't look, guys. You chose to look at that information that we gave you.
You saw that op through the wall. That's your fault.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly. Yeah, so it's just ridiculous. I mean, at this point, like, how much less can Valve care? That's my question. Like, I don't even think it's not a question of like so many things are so easy for them to do that aren't even related to like programming the game, fixing some impossible bug. I mean, for example, before they fixed the ancient water bug, which thankfully they did fix, that's a rare case of we did it Reddit for real, by the way, because they just posted on Reddit and 2 days later it's fixed. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But they didn't drain the swamp. They should have just done that. Like if you can't fix the bug in a timely manner, how many professional games of ancient were actually decided or influenced by this bug, by the way? Like,
the rotations, they had to walk. They had
at least if you there's a clip of Kerrigan's voice comms where he's playing like square on B as T side. Like they've already gotten into B site, and he calls that there's somebody in T spawn
in the water
because he hears the water. Dude, it's actually absurd.
Like,
are you sure Robin wasn't coaching at the time? Oh, never mind.
It's not just affecting like certain games, like that in turn affects a result, which can in turn affect like the momentum of a team. Like it can snowball into this whole thing, and like Valve's just like, oops, sorry.
And quickly, just like one more note on that is that with this. Hold on, why did I lose my point? With this, my main concern with this bug is not necessarily that it's implemented for this major, because like from to Maui's credit, like the point he made about it being such an influential tournament, and needing to counteract like any possible like issues with that, I can sort of get on board with that and understand the reasoning behind it. I still don't agree with the way it's been implemented from my side. But my other concern with this is the fact that it seemed like a lot of the ESL employees who run the biggest tournaments in the circuit were also coming out in support of it. And if this gets implemented for every other tournament, then I'm going to be majorly concerned, because then it's ruining like half the fun of watching. Not half the fun, but like it ruins part of the spirit of watching some of these matches. Like
as a viewer,
there is
it's
a
not,
certain
it's not
element to it. Exactly.
As a viewer, it's simply weird to see Legia deny a fist bump from his teammate. Let's
have to wave that off.
Yeah, just be like, no, not today, not today. Let's open this up to some of the stuff that we've seen so far with the PGL production. I'm gonna start with some good, because there's gonna be some negatives. We're gonna have some critiques about it, but I will say that one thing that I've been liking about PGL is that anytime there's a mistake, it feels like there's a clear effort in fixing a lot of things, and they fixed a lot of stuff from day 1 to I think we're on day 5 now, and it has gotten it's just become a better viewing experience in general, and I would give them a lot of credit to that. And I will say, whoever does the CGI art for the backgrounds and stuff like that, they're doing a killer job. Like those sets, even though it's just green screen, look pretty like. That guy needs to do some more work, because I've been liking what I've been seeing there.
Yeah. When PGL was announced for this major, one of the first things I thought of was, we're going to get something that really does look different. That isn't just different for the sake of being different, or like different in a technical sense. But I mean, people criticize the HUD a lot for like some of the specific ways that they displayed information. But just from the get-go, when you finally see the HUD, because obviously day 1 was a bit of a disaster in that respect. When you finally do see the HUD, it looks very different. It looks like we're in a new, completely different circuit. And that's one of the most refreshing aspects of it for me. When you see the CGI backgrounds that are coming in, as far as I understand, the most common way to do something like that is to rebuild the maps in Unreal Engine, which is probably one of the methods that they could have at least scouted for this. I think stuff like that is a great way to make it feel like a real celebration of Counter-Strike, which is what the major's always supposed to be. So I thought that specific aspect was great,
Yeah, I think the talent in general also from day 1 to day 5, everybody's just getting better, and they're getting more and more excited as the tournament's going on. It's like it's having the nice ramp up that I would expect to see for a tournament of this caliber. Whereas, like, the first matches, they are simply a little bit less important, I would say, for most people. So you don't expect there to be the hype and everything. But I'll say every casting duo has improved throughout the major. The desk has actually streamlined. It's gotten slimmer. They made it 3 people, and I think that's kind of more natural. I think the jury is still out for me whether or not I think they could have handled a 4-person desk, with Richard and 3 analysts. But all in all, I think everything is kind of getting like they're fine tuning it over time. But I think that unless you guys have more praise to throw at them, I think that brings me to some of the criticisms I have with PGL. So, Mix, do you have any? Where would you like to see?
I'm sure you'll have. I mean, I'm sure you'll have more specific things, but like I've said before, like the main thing for me is just like not seeing emotion. Really, especially like the first stage, everyone's just playing from like hotel rooms.
Yeah,
I don't get like any
some of
player
that.
cams, even though it seemed like they were available. And like either way, I feel like even if they're playing from their hotel rooms, we should be able to have like cams in there, like every other event the past like 2 years. But yeah, like
There's even cams on the players in the
Chinese stream.
when they're playing, and
Yeah.
yet they're not turning them on.
Yeah, so it's just like it's like the whole reason I like seeing teams on LAN and like being part of a major, right? It's just because it means more. Like that's
Yeah.
the story behind it. It's like the emotion behind it. That's what I want to see. I don't just want to see like yeah, it's cool. It's LAN CS. It's still the major, and it still feels more important even without that. But yeah,
Especially
for me,
after 18 months of online
Yeah.
broadcasts, like
Oh
the
my
one
God.
big thing that you can add are those player cams and reactions, and like hearing the players shout in the background
God.
and whatnot.
yeah,
The amount of webcams I've seen that have fallen over mid-match, fallen over, by the way, because you just expect sometimes a player just might push it off or something like that. It's so unreasonable. And there were a couple camps that were pretty good at making sure their webcams were all right, like in certain boot camp settings. But when I was watching certain players like Acor at home with like it's just blank stare and like shit lighting, it's just like
Yeah.
this is just like I feel like it's the flattest of flat shots. And yeah, like when you see players at LAN, it's like you have the cam on for the entire shot. You can see how they react to things, the way that they communicate, how frequently they communicate, all of that plays a big role in the story that I tell as an analyst on a desk. When I see that Stewie is talking so much, I'm just kind of like, whoa, is he calling? Like he's literally talking nonstop this round.
It's funny you mention Acor and flat shots because that's usually something that goes together.
Yeah,
Brutal.
that's a given. That's a given. There's a couple other issues I have. I still think that like the radar. Why is the thing?
Yeah, the
still at,
radar
like,
was weird.
Why is it
Yeah,
at
It's
5
just lagging.
FPS?
It's just lagging.
Why is it at 5 FPS still?
At least they fixed the thing where it was like all the dead players just showed up and it looked exactly the same.
It's
And I
'cause they
still-
had the
That was
numbers
one of the
still
most
on them, yeah.
frustrating
Oh,
viewer
God.
experiences for the first 3 to 4 days.
I just
Yeah.
can't look at the radar because I don't know what's happening on it.
Exactly. Especially on mobile, dude. Looking at that radar on mobile was
I did watch
awful.
a decent amount of games from my phone, and I gotta
Yeah.
say, it was like,
Oh, I mean, even when I was watching it from a distance in my living room on a TV,
Yeah.
it's still just as bad. It's just unless your computer screen is right in front of your face and you got Xantarez posture, like you're not seeing everything that's going on there. So that's that was a big disappointment. They improved the radar in a couple ways where it had the circles. The colors also were this really bad gradient from like black to a dark color of yellow or blue respective of the team, and the glance value was just bad for watching and trying to understand the macro at any given time. So they made it just solid colors, which I appreciate that.
there's a lot of little
But
tweaks that went a long way, I think, in general.
Yeah, like the HUD. I complained about this on Twitter. On the first 3-4 days, they showed how much time was left on the bomb timer.
Yes.
And I think for some people came back at me and replied, were like, but that actually makes it so I like knowing that. I like knowing how much time is left. But then just think of a big moment and how that can transpire where it's like, oh, is there 10 seconds left or 11 or 9 on the defuse? And then you
It's
just
weird
know.
because I swear there was like another event. I don't know what event it would have been, but there's definitely been like this discussion before.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
CS Summit did it at some point. It's definitely been done by like a couple of tournaments and almost always been counting
Immediately,
by
like,
PvP.
removed.
Yeah, and it's removed like within the first day.
By the way, this one still, even after quote unquote fixing it, it's still very easy to time it out.
Yes.
Because of the fact that it proceeds along the little four, like the square that they have, basically the diamond. That they have.
Yeah.
So you can still math it out pretty easily if you're really, really paying attention. But if you pay attention too much to that, you're going to miss the frags, even as a viewer. So I think it still is fine in its current incarnation, where it is still, you get a progress bar. I actually kind of like knowing, oh, the bomb is at least half ticked. Like they need to really speed things up. So that was it. That was useful information, even when it was just a timer. But I do agree that there's something about knowing before the diffuse even comes in whether or not it's going to work.
And people even were adding me and saying, oh, but it actually one time said 11 and the guy missed the diffuser, something like that, or it said 6, so it's like it's not even accurate. That's even worse, you know.
Why that's not a good argument.
Bad information to people.
Like that happening is not the same as if there's like no timer, because then I'm just confused. Like,
I'm like, when did Valve change the
holy
diffuse
shit,
time?
he got it. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck happened there? Like it said 11. Like I'm confused now.
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
go.
go.
Sorry,
Go. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, one of my, I guess, I'll qualify this first with the fact that James Banks obviously had like a tragedy.
Yeah.
And honestly, my condolences to him. I'm not sure how much of PGL's content plan was built around having him around, but there hasn't been a lot of extraneous content around the broadcast at all. Like a lot of these matches have had 20-30 minute long timers in between them with no actual other content running, even while they have like a full analyst desk and people who are really talented and could bring you a lot of extra content that are already there. Like you have Black, you have Maniac, you have people who are, and Yanko, you have people who are very experienced and could
just throw them on the desk and just tell them to talk about.
They have a telestrator too. They have a telestrator where they could just play clips from matches and talk over them. But there's these massive breaks where they don't actually have added content to the broadcast. And that to me feels really lackluster. I don't know what their original plan for that was, but it's a little bit sad for a major, especially.
Yeah, and that has simply become the standard now. If you look at any tier 1 event now, or even a lot of tier 2 events, there's tons of side content now. There's so many interviews, so many just like little fun things. Even like I would even say like the We Play Academy League is probably like a tier 3 event, and yet they have all these little side pieces of James or Pimp or somebody talking in front of a green screen and just like relaying something to the viewer. And you know, this is getting really critical, but I just want to like remind everybody that this is a major, and it's a lot of people's first time tuning in a long time. Like when sometimes I see YouTube comments or Reddit posts or whatever where people are like, I don't even watch that much CS anymore, but I'm still watching this, but like some of those people are the people that are tuning into this for the first time in 2 years because they were so bored of online CS when that started that we need like PGL in a way are helping shape the future of CS. And when people see that there's this this product that's not up to the standards that I would consider industry standards now, then it really can hurt the potential future. Because if people think this is the best CS has to offer, that's not good, because people should be entertained start to finish when they're watching a stream. That's like important. And it's just that when you see a 15-minute countdown timer, you're just like, okay, that's when you lose viewership. And that's why it's really frustrating. There's still so many more things though.
There's loads. I will say on the topic of shoulder content, I just want to come in and say that like they definitely have a star-studded cast that could make all sorts of content, long form, short form, whatever you need to cover any sort of technical pause if they absolutely need to pull away from casters, as they did have to in the Nip Astralis match. I think the technical pause was that Astralis didn't show up to play. I think that's what it was. But even beyond that, like the fact that we have so many different people on the broadcast that have done plenty of their own content. Thorin by himself has done like thousands of videos and stuff. Like these people can make content. These people can, be cooperative, or you could just ask them some questions, and I guarantee you'll get something. Yeah, literally put a camera in their face.
Also, from my understanding, like even teams that were eliminated from the challenger stage are still there. Some of them are still there or around or near the venue.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
So it's not like you can't pull some of these people and also do content with them, or even teams that are done their matches for the day or whatever. Like there's so many other opportunities.
Just pull someone from like, one of the challengers teams, be like, hey, you want to like go sit on a fucking desk and fill some time or something? Like I'm telling you, there's got to be some coaches or players that are like down to do shit like that.
Dude, I mean that is the in for a lot of these players. If they allowed them that chance, then my job is no longer safe on a desk. Like because there's gonna be some guy that comes on that got eliminated early and he has all this insight and it's like, oh my god, like he could be on the desk, but they're never. That's not even. I doubt that's even pitched. You know, I just have to doubt that's even
True.
put out there. Can we also like this is for all TOs, but PGL is just the one that comes to mind because we're watching them now. I guess ESL did it recently. Like, can we put NA teams on last? Just put all the NA games on as late as possible.
Like, I don't understand how this happens at every single fucking event.
Yeah.
How is it every single time the NA games always start at like 4 a.m.? It's like, surely someone...
Listen, the last time I had to wake up at 4 a.m. to watch CSGO, I was casting for Grid, so that's...
For relog.
It's like, I don't want to... Listen. No, wait, listen. They can put EG at like the earliest time slot so that no one in NA has to watch it.
that would be preferable, yes.
But at least give me liquid later in the day.
Yeah, give us the liquid game at the middle of the day so people can watch it during their lunch break.
I mean, at this point, they're probably doing NA a favor by putting EG on that early, but the rest of the games, give me something. Come on.
Absolutely. I will say it's kind of been also weird that we're talking about how frequently we see a countdown timer instead of the desk. There was even a day when between maps they didn't even show the desk. Like there's there's
a day where they didn't even show the desk at all until halfway through the broadcast.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cases where, I mean, everybody hopefully has seen the Thorin hold this LPGL meme by this point. Like that day was the day where they were sat there ready. They were on the desk. Mm-hmm. Richard was there with some analysts. Richard said, check out these highlights. It was a pretty reasonable highlight video for literally 1 day turnaround or less than a day turnaround. So I thought it was actually, pretty good. Like there's some little nitpicks, like the fact that Renegades were listed as 2-1 over Mousesports, which was just false. But besides those small issues, the highlight video was all right. And then I was, all right, I'm caught up. I'm ready for analysis and countdown timer and into James Bardolph saying he's Richard Lewis, which was a good bit, but not an analysis test.
Okay. Does anybody have any other things to bring up? I think that covers a good amount.
I will say to one thing that did frustrate me was a lot of people on Reddit criticizing them, especially on day one, for some issues that were definitely out of their control, i.e. Valve updating the client.
Valve literally
2
updates
hours
the
before
client,
they went live.
Yeah.
Good job.
Which actually broke a bunch of their game state integration and stuff.
That's why the HUD was off for the opening 6 matches or whatever it was.
And also, I will say, one problem is that the major TO is hosting the major without being able to test a lot of their elements, even outside of the client for the major. A lot of people are trying to compare the HUD to ESL and Blast when these tournament organizers have had multiple years to iterate on their broadcast and iterate on those HUDs and improve them. So trying to compare it 1-to-1 isn't really a fair comparison. It just sucks that PGL couldn't run one of the RMRs, for example, to actually iron out some of these issues. Exactly.
Okay.
That's part of day one for me was someone reminding me of the Face It Major and the unlimited eggs thing.
Oh,
that's just the greatest thing that ever happened.
Nothing will ever top unlimited eggs.
Yeah, I don't think anything's ever going to top unlimited eggs.
Wait, what?
It was from Virtus Pro. Pasha Bicev says, I tolerate a lot of things, but when you tell Pasha he can only have 3 eggs, what is this?
Okay.
And then the next day, it's everybody has unlimited eggs.
It was like the CEO of Face It or something. It was like whoever's running the whole company responds to that tweet of all things, because this is the same event that had the sound problems. You could hear footsteps and some people couldn't hear footsteps, so you just got people running in and catching people by surprise.
It's also, they had limits on eggs, but I think they were paying for that chicken that did the predictions. I think they were paying something a couple of $100 a day.
Yeah, the chicken handler had as much of a day rate as one of the analysts at the event. So.
Yeah, exactly. just
no way.
Yeah, I think it was Thorin said it in one of his videos. I think it was $500 or something. It was ridiculous.
$500 day rate,
something like that
for a chicken.
Oh,
I might be speaking out of turn. That might be entirely wrong, but it was some ridiculous day rate.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm thinking of what analyst would have had that day rate. I mean, Daps, you got to fight for a little bit more.
Yeah. Come on, Daps.
Either way. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, all right. Let's talk about a little bit of our takeaways from stuff we've seen now. So let's get a little bit more to what we normally do with this pod, and and talk about some. So let's start with the challenger stage. I mean, you guys have any takes, any teams, like which ones jumped out? I think for me, Big not making it through was a little bit surprising because they were pretty close twice to making it through. You know, they lost 2-1 to ENCE and Mouse Sports, and that, like, with how well with Big played in the middle of 2020, I have to think that there's some buyer's remorse on Gade for Xanter.
This lineup is so like uninspiring to me. Like,
Yes,
like I get why they kind of added Gade, but like at the same time, I don't know. I just feel like
I don't
there's not
really.
enough there.
Yeah, I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I wish it were just Favin. I just wish it were Favin, personally.
There probably is some
'cause-
contract thing. I don't know how much Big is investing into CS at this point, which is a big question mark for a lot of teams. But
yeah, Gade was probably free. He was a free agent, I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah, he was.
Okay, who else? Any surprises on making it through? Copenhagen?
Copenhagen
I got
Flames,
every
of
single
course.
playoff
Mostly.
team correct. I'll just say that much.
Really?
Yes,
You got 'em all?
all 7 were correct. That's my
That
7
was-
points.
I'll say I'm
to
kind
your-
of surprised
I'm
that, like,
going to your Twitter right now.
I'll say I'm kind of surprised at like how well FaZe did.
They were a bit
I
of a
expected them-
revolution. Yeah.
I expect them to get through, but they got through with like such ease. It kind of surprised me.
Yeah, they did really, really well, actually. And they're still
Wow,
playing pretty well during this stage, too.
You actually got all 8. You didn't put the right 3-0, but you got all
Yes,
8
yeah.
in the right. Wow, that's okay. Pronogo's the prediction king right now, actually.
That's the reason why my video, at least for my standards, popped off. My round 2 video.
Oh.
They know the truth, people.
They know that you are getting it right. I think other ones for me.
If you're going to talk about teams that should have made it through and didn't, Team Spirit has to be on the list. Like
I don't
Yeah,
think so. I disagree.
I
You don't think
discounted them
Spirit
in the
should've?
pick'em. I discounted them in the
Spirit-
pick'em because they were not on form going into this event. But at the same time,
They
like
kind of fell off. They
Yeah.
kind of did fall off.
They've beaten like 2 top 30 teams or two top 40 teams or something in the last like 3 months. And the last
Yeah.
big team they beat was Virtus Pro in July or
Mhm.
like mid-July
And
or
that's
something.
domestic. That's a domestic.
Yeah, it's domestic as well in the
Yeah.
start ladder. And before that, it was fours or something.
Well, the other
So
thing you got to
they
remember
are not
though,
beating
they
any good
almost
teams.
they almost qualified over Virtus Pro in one of the, like, I think it was the 2-1 match or something like that, or maybe it was even the 1-1 match.
Yeah, they lost to them 1-2, and it was over that overpass game. Okay,
That's
that
what I
is
mean.
my
Yeah,
single
they
favorite
100%
map.
could have taken that, even though that is a
Yeah.
domestic lineup, and maybe they don't do anything in the Legend stage. It's still, like, you got to wonder, like, they must be kicking themselves for that match in particular because they looked
Yes.
nowhere to be found in the Astralis series.
I will say that is my hand-picked map. If anybody wants to go back to anything in the Challenger stage and just watch back one map, overpass between Spirit and VP was balls to the wall, just such a sick fucking, oh my god, it was so good. I'd say if you're even like have such bad like attention that you can't watch a whole map, just go to the last half. Go to the last half and then just watch how this whole thing unfolds. It's so insane. And yeah, I mean obviously VP won it, but the way it happens is incredible. Chopper from like hero to absolute zero in one round. Oh my god. Chopper. Okay, wait. What are the Chopper opinions?
On the
What are
plus, you want Chopper opinions?
Chopper opinions. I need some
I
Chopper
think he's
takes.
gonna live up to his name and cut.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the guy was doing, especially in the Astralis series. Like, he was trying a bit on map 1 on their own map pick, by the way, and then they just got doused. And I mean, the whole thing is, if you can't come back from the disappointing loss against VP, which is a team, admittedly, you're going to be a lot more familiar with facing if you're Team Spirit when compared to Astralis, especially with this lineup. I still feel like it felt like they came in and they didn't even really believe in themselves. Like the veto itself felt like it was a misfire for me. And then once they get into the games themselves, it felt like they had no real game plan. I don't, basically what I'm saying is, especially after today, it's easy to be down on Astralis. I don't know how much of them 2-0ing Spirit in the Challenger stage to qualify was really Astralis playing super well, because they've just been so like weird throughout the stage. Whenever we talk about Astralis, it's just weird. That's the whole
Spirit not getting through is less of like a shocker for this event and more just like tells me like where they stand, where they haven't had any momentum behind them for like the longest time, it feels like. Whereas like at the start of the year or so, it felt like they were supposed to be challenging, Gambit, Navi, and like kind of being around those teams, and now they've just fallen off like so hard.
They were in the top 10, I believe, for a not so short amount of time midway through the year. So
their peak
I
their
mean,
peak was number 6.
yeah.
I think during EPL, I was in the press conference for Navi, and I had actually asked Blade about his thoughts on like the other CIS teams, so like Spirit, Entropiq, and VP at the time. And he basically said that like Entropiq should have more time. They're still like improving, and they have the chance to go forward. And then VP, he was like they're battling some like player issues. We obviously see now that Flit's
I
come
know what
in.
those are.
Yeah, but then he was like, Spirit have like no excuse. I can't really make an excuse for their performance, and they really should not be playing to the level that they are at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that stretches back to like almost 2 months ago at this point, right? So like.
Yeah.
This team is not playing even close to the standard they should be, and they haven't been for a while now. So I wasn't really surprised to see them go out. The way that they went out is pretty depressing for them, obviously. But on a positive note, I am going to say like Entropiq are playing surprisingly well, even in the Legend stage right now. Like they have honestly surprised me in terms of the level that they've brought consistently.
Yeah.
I've interacted a lot with Hooch actually over the last few months because he's on the Russian broadcast at WePlay, and we get to hang out a lot because we actually are all in the same green room, the Russian talent and the English talent.
Oh, cool.
And I will say that Hooch and Kane have never beat me in foosball, but they actually this is kind of funny. Kane literally, this is off topic, but who cares? Kane literally will come up to me every single map, and at the beginning of a map, or if there's a tech timeout, he'll be like, Mauzy foosball. And he has never beaten me. We have played at least 20 times, and he has not once beaten me in foosball. And I will say, shout out to Pimp, because Pimp is easily the best foosball player I've ever played with. Like, I don't know why he's so good at that game. But Hooch, okay, to get back to Hooch, like he's got I think he has just such a practical view of the game. When other people sometimes, get into like a little bit of theory craft, he just kind of like is like, why would you pick this map against this team? Or like,
Yes.
why would they do that when this option is just so readily available to them? Like, why overcomplicate things? And I think that in Entropiq's playstyle, I can't like speak as closely onto all the mid-round decisions they make, but like I know that Hooch goes into series and games knowing what is probably their win condition, and he just like focuses on that and doesn't get deterred if something goes wrong. So I think just the right amount of adjustments beyond that. And also, Hooch is the guy that brought Yakinder onto the scene. Like, he has a great eye for talent. Like, he knew that Yakinder was going to be something, and the first like kind of tier 2 chance that Yakinder got was because Hooch brought him on there. So I'm a fan of Hooch, and probably Elian too. Have to say.
You got to be a fan of Elian. Hooch to me feels like if you rewind the clock back 6 months and pick out Blade from Navi, and how he seems to have just been trying to apply this non-standard way of thinking, but it was a way that was rooted in many years ago what was effective in Counter-Strike. It's just something that it's almost like I think Thorin likened it to like Gambit, how they play CS and how them as a team work really well. You can't really apply that to the same players that Navi have, though, because some of them are going to be made of different stuff. Hooch seems like the practical like mirror image of what Blade used to be in that sense, where Blade was like trying these arcane magics and it just wasn't taken,
esoteric calling.
Yeah. And Hooch is like, I don't know anything about alchemy, but I know how to microwave a sandwich, so let's just do that. And like that's what you got. You can microwave a sandwich and eat. Yeah. So Blade going hungry meanwhile. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's got some legit stuff, and Elian has just been nonstop lights out. I don't know if you guys are ready for Entropiq 3-0 Legend stage. I don't know if I'm.
Oh
ready.
Man, it could happen. It could.
I didn't pick them, so it won't happen. If history teaches it.
Oh, interesting. You think they're going 2 and 3?
I did say they will go 2 and 3, so that is a prediction in my video. Maybe it happens. Maybe best of threes expose them. That's the thing, though, is Entropiq, unlike Copenhagen Flames, did actually get some studio time in the Challenger stage, and they've obviously every Legend stage game has been studio, so they feel like a lot more legit. Out of all of the teams going into this event, Entropiq would have probably been my least. Like, I would have picked them the least out of, like, if you take Copenhagen Flames, Ensign, and Entropiq, those are the teams that I think that were underdogs but had a realistic chance of getting out, and I picked them all to upset and make it in. I think for for this phase, like rather coming into this tournament, Entropiq probably had the least amount of people rooting for them. It was like Copenhagen Flames people were super hot on. I think the more distinguished among us thought Ents were legit. And then Copenhagen Flames were just like, oh, they're just onliners or whatever. And then Entropiq comes out of nowhere, goes, what was it, 3-1 or something in the Challenger station. And so far 2-0.
With how good they're playing, it's a big surprise. Yeah. I would throw... I would throw Mouz into that mix, into that of teams I didn't really think were probably going to make it. I did put them on my pick'ems, admittedly, but I just kind of was like, maybe, barely.
Very low confidence pick in them.
I put them on as in, like, who else would go through, basically. Like, as literally as my last pick.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of Mouz, actually, I think we have a graphic with Mouz. This is kind of going back to some of the issues with PGL, and it was like just the way that this information is displayed with Rops and his kill death is just like, what are you putting it on right now?
Yeah, it's on.
It's on. Yeah, it's just confusing. I don't know if you guys all have this in front of you right now, but it is okay. I will post it to you guys very quickly so that you guys can all see it in the chat. Okay, so look in the Discord chat. Like that if you guys, okay, so people that might be listening on the podcast and not see the video, so there are bar graphs that are attached to kills, deaths, assists, accuracy rate,
Why
damage.
is the deaths higher than kills?
And utility damage. And literally, the deaths bar is bigger than kills, even though Rops has a positive KD. Like
that was the first thing I said when Alex linked this. I was like, why does he have 18 kills and 17 deaths, but the bar for kills is lower than deaths? How does this possibly make any sense?
So I have to assume that it's based off of just the players. Like I think it's
some sort of like percentage, like the bars,
it's like a percentile based off of who did the best. But then, like, why is he the match MVP if these bars are like this?
Because you know how like on HLTV they have like the not good, average, good, or whatever.
Yeah.
And like when it first came out, like Simple's like impact was like insanely high, but it was just said like average or something. And it's just, I imagine it's like some sort of like something
also
similar.
What is accuracy rate? Like, what does that even mean?
Just percentage of shots hit.
Accuracy should never be on a graph. Accuracy should just, because people spam through smoke all the time, and oppers don't spam that much. So you'd think an opper should probably have the highest accuracy, but then you'd also punish an opper for going for wall bangs, in a round. Like, so I think accuracy should never be part of Counter-Strike, personally.
Leadify have like a good way of displaying it where they'll do it as like accuracy after enemy has been spotted
on screen
on screen or something like exactly. Like they have a really good way to display it. If you do it like that, I get it. When you do it like this, it makes absolutely zero sense.
To be fair, we don't know if maybe that is what they're doing. The problem that I have so many problems with this image, and not only do we not have a good crucial amount of context for any of this stuff, but the fact that accuracy rate is a decimal value when everything else is a whole number is really confusing. And then obviously the graph percentage full is just so confusing. Utility damage is 77 out of what? Why is that low compared to everything else? Damage itself almost 2,000.
So why is it just damage instead of ADR also? I actually found the game that this came from. Okay. It was the decider map nuke against Big that secured Mouz a spot in the Legends stage.
I hope nobody here actually watched that game, because that was a doozy, man. That was that was a bad one.
It's frustrating, but I will say that so they give Rops the match MVP, but he had the lowest HLTV rating, tied for lowest KAST on his team. He had the second lowest kills and the third middle of the pack ADR. So it's like, how did they come up with this? Like,
he's got the coolest name, bro. He's got cool in his
name. He's just the highest like ranked player on HLTV.
They just heard Thorn on each death segment say that it's just Rops Sports and Rops is carrying them. So by default, they're like, it's got to be Rops.
Yeah, Bemis went 19 and 11 in this game, by the way. Like, that's just okay. So I don't know. We'll move on from.
Wait, what if the reason why Rops got the most MVP, or Rops got the match MVP, is because in CSGO, the client that has no statistical accuracy, he got most MVPs in there.
It could be the most stars,
No, that can't be it. Please don't let that.
He had the highest score. Dude, he planted the bomb so many times. Unbelievable.
Oh no,
unbelievable player.
That would just be awful. Oh no.
Before we move on, one more thing that I got reminded of with what Pernoga was talking about before is that why is it only now that all of the matches are being played in the studio environment?
Oh yeah.
Like, it's very
know.
clear when you're watching the broadcast right now that there would have been zero issue with hosting all of the matches in the challenger stage in the exact same way. And they already have 4 PC setups, and even with the transition time, they basically maintained the schedule. Like, in terms of the
It just
hours,
feels like lazy. Like they just did it because it's easier. When it,
it's
it's a shitty thing for a major.
To call out idiots on Reddit, when this was brought up and people were like, why are these being played here and not in why is it half split between the studio and the hotels? I saw comments were like, oh, it's a COVID precaution. I'm like, where are you getting this from?
No,
where are you possibly pulling that from? They're like, yeah, they have to wait at least an hour between like changing the setup so that they can wipe it out. I'm like, where are you getting this information
You definitely
from?
don't have to do that. You just gotta wipe it down once and it's fine.
Listen, all I need to say about Reddit Megaminds is at one point I saw this post where they said Blast denied themselves the major because they didn't think that they could run it, and they didn't have the guts, bro.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, well, the official Blast Premier Reddit account replied, "You learn something new every day," and it was like, perfect, man.
Yeah,
that's the easiest tweet of all time.
Oh god. Yeah, I mean, Reddit seems to know like our salaries as talent better than we do too. And
they even recently exposed that Bleh and Maniac have some unsolved sexual tension between them.
That's exactly what I was about to bring up.
These people know everything. Yeah, they know everything.
Oh man. Okay.
Classic.
All right. Legend stage. We are through all the BO1s. This is going to be published before any of the BO3s start. Any of these BO1 results that really stuck out to you today? I
think the first thing we need to talk about is how the fuck is EG so bad?
Oh
like,
man,
it's insane to me. Like, I want to see this team do good. Like, I want to see them do good, and I want to see them win. Like, I figured, like, okay, finally they've got like their lineup, finally set. They get to practice with it. They finally got Daps as the coach. This is the first time they've been like, able to actually practice with like this 5-man lineup plus Daps as coach heading into this event. So I figured I didn't actually see them getting through. I put it like on my Twitter for my pick'ems just because I don't know, just for fun. I put EG going through. Like, I didn't actually think they'd get through, but I figured they'd be like more competitive, maybe pick up a couple wins, be kind of an upset team. They just look like so dog shit. They look worse than before. They look worse.
They looked awful. I thought when I did my pick'ems that maybe they could pick up a map. Like, maybe they might even somehow upset FaZe in their first match, just as like coming in.
This is a team where, like, if enough players
get
hot, they can definitely like make it through. Like, they could make like some like weird run.
I don't think they can make it through. I didn't think that they would make it through.
I didn't think they'd make it through, but I'm saying they have the potential to go on a run to make it through. Like, I mean, any team does here. Like, that can crazier things have happened, but like, I expected them to be better than getting like 3 rounds and like 6 rounds. Like, I can't believe they're like
2 rounds.
They have 2 rounds. They have a combined 8 rounds between playing FaZe and Copenhagen Flames so far.
I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect them to look even worse than they did.
You know what?
I don't understand how.
You know what? Not only are they a great team, but they're also a Legends team.
Legends.
Oh
yeah.
Legends.
Thanks for reminding everybody. Thanks for reminding.
I can't believe we waited for 4 days of CSGO.
But I am curious what you guys think of that. What you think of EG?
I think that EG right now are just like they're just like, we could see in the RMR event. I remember staying up pretty late to watch that like decider BO, like the one between Triumph, Team 1, and EG, and how brutal it was for them to even try to win with full money against Triumph. Like, some of those rounds were just so... It's like sometimes they lose all control in the mid round, which is an area before that you would think that they would have a really good grasp on, because they just could put things together. They didn't have trouble with that, and the calling was better. I think if I have to put the blame on anybody, it just simply has to be Stan. It just has to be, like, it sucks because I was a huge Stanislaw fan, especially during their E-League Season 2 run, when they beat Astralis, and it was just like, oh my god, they're contenders again. And then when he got onto this roster and they won ESL 1 New York, I was there. I was at the event, and it was just freaking crazy. I think that's where a few of us met, actually. And it was just like, that was so crazy. And yet, I think Stan's heart is just not in the game anymore, and that's just such a vague. It's such a vague, shitty way to characterize their play. But it does come down to mid rounds, and I think that also on top of that, it doesn't seem like there's a glue guy to help supplement this. Whereas like Tarek before, maybe his stats were bad, but you knew that as a guy that IGL'd to a major championship. And it had rotated through
This
the role
team,
before.
there's
no second voice.
I can't like. There's no way this team wouldn't be playing better. Like, obviously, I don't know how like the player dynamics work, like personal relationships and shit, right? Like, I have no understanding of that. But it's like, there's no way this team would be better. Like, I mean, would be worse with Tarek as IGL than with Stan right now, because
No, it's just
they'd at least be
couldn't be
playing
worse.
with like more fucking like. It seemed like they're actually into it, or at least it's just insane how they seem to just get worse. Like, I
They
don't
feel
understand how they're
lifeless
playing
right
Smith.
now in the server.
Yeah.
To
They
me, this has felt like a dead lineup walking for like
Yeah.
the last few months, honestly. And
Yeah.
I think the only thing that's even kept them together is the fact that they had RMR points and had
Yeah.
a chance to qualify for the major and get stickers.
And,
That's
like-
honestly it.
Yeah.
I'll say
And I guess because Ethan and who the fuck else? Tarek. I guess because they already only had like 3 members remaining, they couldn't like lose
So
another one.
One round that stuck out to me today when I was watching them versus Copenhagen Flames that I think characterizes all this is that it was like one of the first gun rounds against Copenhagen Flames on Nuke, and they took ramp control and they kind of like all walked out. They were going to try to sneak it towards A, and yet I think it was Roy, he like reaggressed ramp right when they were all leaving. So in that moment, there's like 40 seconds left maybe, and Roy saw that they all left ramp, and so the only option they have is to either retake ramp. They can retake ramp, or they could just go back to A. And you could tell that Stan just kind of like should have known that Copenhagen Flames knows that you left ramp. Like he saw all of you guys leave. He saw there's nobody there. And yet, instead of trying to like fight for it again, he just goes into the very obvious A stack at that point. They just walk into A, and there's like literally 3 or 4 Copenhagen Flames players there, and it's like, because they knew what you were doing, and you just wanted to still do this play. Like you couldn't be like, oh shit, he knows, like let's go back to. It's just like just making a decision and just running with it, and it's very wrong. Like I think a plan is better than no plan, but there's like a point where it becomes a very bad plan, and I think they're running with too many bad mid-round plans nowadays.
The other thing too is that they just don't seem to really commit with any pace off of any of the decisions that they make. Looks like we just dropped somebody.
Oh, Mix. I hope your camera turned off.
I'm so good, man.
Okay, you're here. You're here, but your cam is off. But okay.
Rip the overlay.
Okay, some other teams. I think G2 having a bounce back is really surprising. They were looking like hot steaming garbage. The way, like at the Blast Fall groups, and even in the showdown, like they lost to Mad Lions.
They lost a map
to Big.
To Lin Vision. Hello.
They lost a map to Lin Vision. Like, yo, this team I thought was done. I thought it was done. I thought G2's just got to make some changes too. And now they're 2-0, and they're facing Entropiq with a chance to make it to the champion state, the playoffs. And I don't know where this came from. I am actually kind of bewildered by G2's resurgence.
Yeah, so obviously, because I have to lose every single 0-3 and 3-0 prediction, I did put FaZe as my 3-0 for this stage, because I thought they were kind of cheeky. Like, they could either crash out completely or go 3-0, right? But I did predict them to make it through either way. G2, on the other hand, did not predict to advance, so...
no, I didn't put them either.
Looking kind of hard for me, but I still think that there's a world where they don't make it through. If they drop to Entropiq, which is a team that in their heads they are going to think that they should just put them to bed easy. We just dealt with FaZe and all the rivalries there, and you know we didn't have the easiest day one, but we still got through it. And then FaZe Clan themselves were basically swept apart on Mirage. So that particular match wasn't even hard for them by the looks of things. And then the fact that they're going up against a serious underdog now, if G2 play to the level that they're supposed to, in air quotes, because of the fact that they have like Nico and Hunter and stuff, that should be a solid one. The thing that I don't know about in this particular matchup is, do we see like how impactful is Nico going to be in this matchup, insofar as is he going to have to carry the whole game? Like that's the problem with G2 before this tournament is that Nico basically did everything and they still lost, but everybody
Absolutely
else was
everything.
just not even firing even remotely. So in this particular matchup, especially the FaZe game, which I watched all of, it looked like the other players were actually there to play, even though Nico did bail them out of a lot of situations. It's still, I'm not 100% sure if I can say predict with any security that they will beat Entropiq, even though they should, in air quotes. Like, still kind of out on them. They still need to prove a little bit more.
I would say that for me with G2 at the two maps that they've played so far, everybody was rating Hunter very highly earlier this year, probably even overrating him to an extent. And then he kind of cooled off, and that's when it was like, oh, G2 are actually just not that good when Hunter is an average player. And now he's playing at that world-class form again. That seems like, to your question, that Nico doesn't have to be a 30 bomb or instant L type team. So
Yes.
I think that they can. I think they'll make it through now. I think they just have too many opportunities now to not to fail. Like they're gonna, even if they fail this one, like it's not gonna get easier per se, but it's still very much possible. I would be shocked right now if G2 don't make it through to
From
the
this
playoffs.
position. Yeah, they
I'd
definitely
agree with
should.
that.
Right. Teams that I think, okay, let's do this. Are there any teams though you guys think will choke out or just bounce back from their position? Because I think, go Note.
I had Mouse to go 3 from the start of this stage.
Okay, all right.
They did not impress me at all during the challenger stage. Like the
Right.
maps that they actually made it through in didn't look very, like none of the wins
Bad.
looked very solid.
Bad wins. Yeah.
And then their losses were just awful.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I think one of them, Rops, literally had to he dropped like 25 or something, and they still lost the map. And or like he had a bunch of rounds where he got 3Ks and 4Ks to bail them out, and then they still lost. Like some of those rounds they still lost. And I
Yeah.
saw that happen over and over. And even
Is that
though
first
I think
Renegades? Is that first Renegades? Or is it the
think
first
s-
map? The first map against Renegades?
yeah, I think so.
16-14.
Yeah.
Renegades, yeah.
Yeah, because even at the end of the game, the stats made it look as if Rops was middle of the pack, but he literally got multi-kills on rounds and they still didn't convert it. And to me, that just shows that and there's multiple rounds like that, even if it's not Rops getting it, like even if Frozen gets a double, they'll still lose the 3v5 or 3v4, whatever the situation is. And that just screams that this team will not make it through like any of their matches, because I actually haven't even checked who they're playing tomorrow.
They're playing Ents, which is probably the worst matchup they could
That's
possibly.
not, yeah, that's
And
not.
They,
against
they just
Valve.
won't get past Ents. Like I'll just say,
I don't
it here.
think so.
There's no way they get past Ents.
Yeah,
In a best of
they-
3, especially, like you have no chance. Basically.
Well, I think Vitality or Ents would have beat him personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
but the only way Mouz makes it not 0-3 is if they played EG.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's EG's my 0-3, right? So
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Oh, they're
happy
up.
with.
Well, if they're up against Vitality, EG are not going to make it. No way.
no
way,
way.
Jose.
Listen, wait. Would it be
Oh, no.
so funny if EG beats Vitality in a BO3 just for the shit Ryan
Yeah.
will talk to Nell?
No.
I do
That's
think
fair.
that would be pretty embarrassing if the
Can you
French
imagine?
super team just drops out.
Yes.
I said it earlier. Like Zywoo was nowhere to be found in the opening matches today. Like of all
Yeah.
the fucking days
Yeah,
to
that's
have
true.
a
That's
cold
true.
day, like Zywoo basically did nothing. He was
Yeah,
actually
I was
responsible for a lot of
surprised.
lost rounds. Like he should have been planting in some of the rounds on T side on overpass against who was it against VP or who do they have? They had their second round.
They
Heroic.
play VP or heroic. Heroic.
Oh yeah, I
Heroic
was
is
thinking
right.
of the heroic
Heroic
matchup
on
because that was the
Overpass, yeah,
0-1
yeah.
match, the best of one there. And against heroic, they like so many mistakes made, so many opportunities lost for like easy rounds that they could have gotten. And in the end, even after all of those mistakes, where you can sort of hand wave those away, when it comes to the gun rounds, it doesn't even really look that convincing. So
Yeah.
I'm not really high on Vitality, but you might as well just put them in a server with bots against EG at this point, like 16-2 against Copenhagen
Jesus.
Flames. Like, come on, dude. GG go next, and by next I mean Valorant.
Oh my god, Jesus!
Oh lord. Okay.
I was gonna follow up Mouse with the fact that Vitality was very disappointing today in
Yes.
both their matches. So like 100% for a team that was supposed to deliver and be like a top 5 team coming into this stage, they looked like absolute garbage.
Do we
In
think
terms
any
of
of
the
these?
level they should be playing up to.
Yes. Do we think any of these best of ones in the legend stage change the result if it's a best of 3 instead, or do we think that this is still the same way that they go? Like if we assume the same form, right? Do we think that like G2 still beats FaZe? Any of these series change at all in your guys' mind?
I think if it were BO3, I think Vitality actually could have done better against VP. They were down
Yep.
like 8-3 on Infer or something like they had a cold start, and literally Apex actually DM'd me and he was like, yeah, we started so slow, we were all afraid to take bad duels and stuff like that, and it cost us a lot. And I was like, yeah, that's accurate. So if they, got to warm up into map 2 and 3, and they actually almost brought it all the way back against Vitality today. So
it was 8-3 and then 15-7?
15-7, and then it was 16-14.
Yeah. Yes.
So they won something like 7 in a. They won 7 in a row, and then they lost on the last round. So that was just like.
And if you know anything about Vitality too, like the French teams are always so emotional. Like that's got to be crushing going into the next matchup too. The fact that you almost made it, man. You almost made it. Like
there's pictures where Shox is just like crushed in the HLTV gallery. If you look, Apex and Shox just have pictures where their heads are in their hands, or like Apex so has like this series of 3 photos where he goes from like.
Yeah. He's so animated. He's so animated. At Blast, we see in the green room all the player cams as they're happening, just live, and Apex is literally just the only one who's like that. His motion is just like it just catches your eye. It's in the side of your eye because like the second monitor has it all, and it's just like random arm waves, and just like Shox does too. They're both just all over the place all the time.
Yeah, just even going back to that crazy shot that he jumps for info on Cobble A site and gets deegged or something like that. Like that's like the classic like hand over forehead response. Like wow.
There's a V2 of that in the gallery now. From this heroic match, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's pretty good on this. Let's talk about one player that didn't quite make the major, but I think kind of sent shockwaves through the scene in his kick, as we have learned, and that's blameF. He was the pillar, big meaty pillar of the juggernaut, and now he's been removed from the roster. And it seems we saw the clip of him saying now that he was kicked from Complexity. Does this read as a management issue for you guys, or does it read as a team decision?
So at the end of his stream, he repeated that he was kicked, and then he sort of like said that, I don't know how to say it in English, but like the org chose to part ways with me. So to me, that sounded like a management decision.
Yeah.
Because he would have said team or the players or something if it wasn't.
Yeah,
just
the player.
org.
Yeah, it would be
exactly. Yeah, so I think it seemed like it was just the org's decision to do that. I think the timing is surprising. I don't think it's necessarily surprising that he was removed.
Yeah.
So I think that the teams needed some sort of like revamp for a long time, and clearly he had a lot of good pieces, and it just didn't work for over 2 years. Like, just obviously they had a lot of issues in terms of like Obo going out and then having to rebuild, and he talked about this on stream as well, where like each player they added, he had to re-explain their whole game to them. Like spend 3 hours per map basically going over it with each player. But he also said, I didn't actually get a clip of it, but he said basically like this, not necessarily the last iteration of the roster they had, but like at varying points, the roster basically just like did not work well. Like they just didn't work well together. He had to repeat stuff to a lot of people, like strats that he had to go over and people would forget. And he was just like, it's sort of dysfunctional essentially.
Complexity reads to me as a team where that you just can't teach an old dog new tricks, and there's a lot of old dogs on this roster, and they all kind of have their way that they want to play. And even so we got Cold, JKS, and Blame, and everybody. And S Attack. Well, S Attack I think is a little more versatile than the other 3, but I still don't think he's like
he's more versatile, but he's still talkative. Like he still has his own ideas and things that he wants to do.
Yeah, I'd say, and like on top of that, their roles in the server for 3 of them is almost the exact same. They want to be closers. They want to be, maybe blameF is a little more worky, but like JKS and Cold want to be at the same spots.
Yeah, I don't know that you can have like your 4 riflers on a team be JKS, Cold, blameF, and Esatag.
No,
like it's just too similar. Like they're all too similar. Like they all got like their own ideas of things they want to do. Like Cold and I don't think JKS is like that vocal. Like he has his own way he wants to play, but he's probably not like talking much. But Cold, I assume, definitely is pretty vocal about
sure.
things that he wants to do. And Esatag, at least from my experience, was a very vocal like second caller on C9. Like he's very vocal about how he wants to play a site and like the things that he wants to do. He's a very smart guy. So it's like, and then so you have like those 4 like riflers, and then you have your opper who also needs his own space and like needs to be able to base his own rounds off around himself, right? So there's just like, I feel like there's just not enough space for everyone to operate in the way they want to, so no one gets to.
Right.
Just a cursed lineup too. I mean, look at all of the bad luck that they had. All
Yeah.
the stand-ins. Config's broken wrist when they're finally finding some degree of form. Then they've got to get Cold Zero as a stand-in. I mean, even you go back before that, it was Poison having to some emergency operation that thankfully it's one of the few secrets that I haven't even heard about. And not that I've gone asking, but like the general public isn't even aware of it, right? Like sort of like Olaf Meister's departure from FaZe for a while where he had to take some personal time off. Like some people still don't even know about like the reasons behind these, which is nice because respecting privacy and all that. Mm-hmm. But like the fact that he was out for so long and he's their star opera, that was almost at the height of Poison's prowess individually. It's such a rough lineup, such a rough time for these guys. And maybe you do just have to say, okay, time to blow it up and start over. I personally think this might be writing on the wall for complexity in CS though. I know Jason Lake doesn't ever want to leave CS. He's the kind of guy who doesn't ever want to. But I don't know, man. Like, blameF was the talismanic piece I would build my team around. I just wouldn't be putting baiters next to him, you know?
Yeah, but you still could have had like a pretty decent lineup if you got like I never understood the cold Zero choice because it was just such a weird
didn't make any
fit
sense
right from the start.
It is temporary though.
It is, yeah.
Like not just because but still, but like not even just because of his roles, but like because of like how tenured he is. Like I don't know. I felt it would have made more sense to try to just get like some like young sick fucking aggro rifler or something rather than try to stick like another tenured veteran into the team, like someone that's like excited to be there, fucking excited to play. Like, let's go, come on.
The way I just read the blameF departure is that I think Complexity know they're not going to be winning anything for a while, and blameF is just hemorrhaging money from this group, and
True,
it's not like
paid a fuck ton of money.
He's not nifty in terms of how bad he's performing, but he's just like, it's more just, even though he's a top 10 player as of last year, he's not providing anything that you could get for a fifth of the price right now until they rebuild to a point where they're comfortable. There's just kind of no point on that. The return on investment is simply bad right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna say, like, I hope that they don't pull out because, for example, even if they want to go in on something shorter term, like a year deal or something, Copenhagen Twins is on sale right now.
I don't think they'll pull out for the simple reason that there's not really another esport that they're super.
They're not
like,
owning
invested in.
Yeah,
they're not. Yeah,
like
and,
they're not.
And they're franchised with EPL as well. So
yeah, so it's like because it's like they don't have like a league team. They don't really have like a strong Valorant team. CS is very much like their identity.
Do they have a Blast partnership also?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. So I think they have like multiple reasons that they kind of should be sticking around, or else they're leaving a lot of money on the table. Okay.
I'll just say franchise buy-ins don't seem to be a problem for teams like Envy.
For Flashpoint, that is true. For other teams, I think they're trying. Like Ents, for example, put together a great roster in not too much time. Okay, let's move on to the next topic here. We've got, let's see. We got some Patreon questions. For the couple of you that are still dedicated enough to keep giving money to this, we got you. So we've got the first is going to be Easy Pete, who recognized... So it's been a while since we ran one of these pods. And so Easy Pete was wondering what the next step was for Extra Salt. And then he said something like, oh, I guess that's it.
Floppy,
and when Floppy joined. But we can still touch on this topic because, I mean, Extra Salt is a team that all of us are pretty much watching because we have a lot of stake in this team doing well. And
someone that knows them.
We all kind of seem to know him to an extent. And I will say that Floppy still DMs me from time to time to just kind of give updates on his life, which is pleasant. Thank you, Floppy, for.
I imagine like I'm thinking like what those DMs actually are.
It's probably just 30-second videos of him walking around his house, you know, like filming against a mirror and saying random quotes from video games that he's played.
I guess. I don't know. I really like this move for Extra Salt just because kind of like I think this could also be good for Sonic because they've kind of all been around each other, and sometimes you just need to like do something else, like kind of depart from someone just to like grow a bit more. So I mean I'd still like to see Sonic go somewhere like even like as like an offer because I think
Mhm.
that's something he really excels at, and I think it's a good role for him. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is a good move for them. I'm excited to see kind of like how it pans out with Floppy and Marky. It's a good move. Like it's a good like role swap. I think Floppy for Sonic. It's not too crazy or anything. And obviously we'll kind of see how Floppy. He's been around for a bit, and that can. I think it might be more beneficial to him than it is harmful to him, because he's very much kind of like a person that's motivated when he's with his friends, when he enjoys the team he's on and like the projects he's on. And he's been away for a bit. He obviously like went through the Valorant thing. It was kind of lost. So now that he's got this, he's back with his friends. I think he'll be like super into it and super. I think he'll be playing super well. So if Floppy can kind of get back to that same level he was at before, and then now they'll have OC, and if they can kind of like get Fane to kind of consistently hit more, it could be definitely like level them up a bit.
I personally really like the Floppy's back. I'm so happy that a player
happy.
of his caliber actually decided to leave Valorant and come back.
Yes.
Sign
Not
of the
necessarily
times,
just
yeah.
because he didn't like the game, but just like as far as I know, like he was. As far as I know, like he was benched on Cloud9. I'm not 100% sure on Cloud9 Blue, the Valorant roster.
Yeah.
That is. And then he came back here, and I think like that is both a good choice for him, but also just massively beneficial for North America to have a player of his caliber back.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Floppy is one of those players who just has his own brand, even though he doesn't do something like stream. Like
Mhm.
the actual notoriety behind his name in North America is kind of, he's like an enigma almost. It's sort of
even in
it's
Valorant
kind
now,
of
'cause
absurd.
they got
Yeah,
a little taste. They
it's
just got
kind
like
of
it's
absurd.
kind of funny. They just had like a little taste of Floppy, and now they're like,
Yeah, people like Floppy. I mean, his name itself is just so goofy, and that's kind of what he is, just like a mega
Yeah.
goofball, and like
Yes.
he's got some interesting like beliefs on top of that, but like he just like constantly like gives little teases of himself. Like the way I say Floppy in a way is kind of like there's a lot of pros out there that give a lot of themselves. Like they'll do streams, YouTube videos, all this stuff, but like Floppy gives the right amount of a tease that like it kind of maintains his celebrity as a person. It's
Yes.
just like it's not too much
I'll
where
tell
you
you about
get
like
you figure him out. You'll never
before I
figure him
met
out.
him at the minor. So before like I kind of like met him and knew him, I didn't really like him because I just didn't really vibe his personality, right? And then I was
Sure.
on E United, and then Singularity was like spending at the Berlin minor a couple of years ago. Singularity had like out of the 16 prac rooms there, they had the worst room that was like in the basement. So Singularity spent all their time in like our nice E United practice room. And so that's when like I first like started hanging out with Floppy, and like as soon as he like just came into the room and was just like talking, like everything he said just like made me laugh. Like literally anything. Like it was insane. Like and then so like after that like I got along with him so well. Like I never expected that, but like everything he said made me laugh, and like I was like having breakfast with him in the morning and shit, and like yeah, it was a good time, but it was so
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, he's honestly such a character. I think I've only hung out with him. I've hung out with him at two lands, like Fragadelphia and a land in Oklahoma, and it's just yeah. Honestly, I think I felt like our personalities just got along very quickly, even though it's like there's a pretty big age difference. Like he's like 7 years younger than me, but I was like, dude, this guy's pretty damn funny. And I asked him within like 10 minutes of meeting him, I was like, dude, you go on 4chan like a lot, don't you? And he just like he just does. It's just so obvious. So oh yeah. Yeah, I think to sum up this one, I think it's just great to see that Extra Salter having this. And actually, I have a slightly harsher take. I think that Sonic was starting to make a lot of mistakes for Extra Salt. Like I would see a lot of situations where he would like, 2v1, he'd be the guy that peaks first and dies, and it's like now it's a crappy 1v1. So I think that Sonic probably, I mean, he kind of said it in his tweet, his farewell, that he probably needs to rethink things a little bit or focus up again. And I think that him getting removed from this will probably bring the fire back that he had a year ago when I would say that he was one of the more dominant NA players. Well, I guess South African, but in NA, he was one of the strongest players. And so now he's going to be, I hope he comes back and is like even better, because sometimes a break really can set you on the right track.
I think Extra
Guy's
Salt
been
just
playing
needed a
since he was
change.
13. Yeah,
Hmm?
they did.
But
What would you say?
Would you say no?
I said that the guy's been playing since he was like 13 or something.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
He's probably
Little
ready
break.
for a break.
cannot blame him. Yeah, I
Yeah.
cannot blame him for wanting to take a break. And he's been playing for like the last 4 years outside of South Africa.
Yeah.
Like stuck in NA as well for the last 18 months, because like I think there was travel restrictions where they couldn't return home for even like this last break.
I think they got
So-
to last year, like the end of last year.
Last year,
They came
yes,
back,
but
yeah.
but not this
So,
last break.
yeah,
I
not
think.
this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the team
All
just
right.
needed a change. When they lost that series to Party Astronauts to qualify for
Oh.
Pro League, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no disrespect to the Party Astronauts boys, but I mean, they're not a team that went from NA to EU to boot camp and to go deep finals, grand final finish in FunSpark Ulti or whatever shit relog tournament that was. And then they get to the point where they're in a situation where like these people were contenders. They had legit strats. They could actually throw nades and exec onto sites. And they had all of the traits that you would actually associate with a European contender that's on the rise. Like if we thought about a tier 2 European team, like maybe Copenhagen Flames that was on the rise up and was full of young guns. Extra Salt fit the bill, even on European soil, that they could contend with some of these rosters. And even top tiers get eaten alive in those tournaments. So that was a pretty big surprise for me when they were able to make it somewhat deep. Then they go back home and it seems like maybe they regress to the mean a little bit, right?
Yeah,
So
they did. They got worse when they do get worse when they're in NA. I'll say it because like they also just they've had a string of heartbreaking losses with they lost Premier 2 seasons ago to Team 1 or 3 seasons ago to Team 1. They lost to Pain at a recent DreamHack event that would have sent them to another tournament. They lost to Party Astronauts, like you mentioned. They didn't make it through the
Pain in the Blast Premier fall
the
group
Fragadelphia Invitational,
the NA
whatever.
qualifier, basically.
The NA qualifier for Blast Showdown.
Yeah.
Like they're losing a lot of these like really important series at the very end, despite having a track record during regular season matches, it seems like, to beat these teams. And that's something where, you know, Floppy will bring a different mentality and hopefully they bounce back. Because I personally, like, I really want to see Extra Salt succeed because it feels like everything Pronogo said too, that they just play it the right way. First Sock, though, has another patron question. What do you think of the current allocation of resources to players in Liquid? Do players like Grim need more given to them at the expense of others like Elige or NAF? And this is interesting because Mix and I both coach Grim for a period of time. So, but I'll open up to anyone there.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we kind of touched on this before, where like this iteration of Liquid can often feel weird because obviously you have Stu, Elige, Naf, who are all very tenured, very good players. So I don't know that you can really like take away from them to give more to Grim. Like I'm not sure that that's like the solution I'd really go for. It feels more just like it's kind of just naturally what you decided you were going to deal with when you decided to bring in Grim with like these other 3 riflers. Like, you know, it's just kind of like the role he has to have. I do think that like they're probably like sometimes, especially if maybe like a certain map isn't like clicking for them or something like that, then I think that's probably an avenue where maybe they should try to like put Grim in like a more important spot or like have more say in like a certain spot just to like kind of like freshen things up. So, and I think that both, I wouldn't do it with Elige. But I do think like Stu and Naf are both capable of like kind of being on the back end if they kind of need to. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment. Honestly, like it's really hard to shift someone like Elige out of their position just because he is ridiculously talented, and it's also not like he's fallen out of form at all. So trying to take him out of those spots would not necessarily make the team better, especially immediately. That being said, Grim is definitely like underutilized on this team for his skill level and his actual abilities. And that's even something that Shakespeare has said before. Even when I talked to him at Frag, he said like they're not using him properly, and that was pretty recently. That was only a few months ago.
I'll be very disappointed in Liquid if like further down the line when they need to make a change, what they decide to do is just like remove Grim and replace him with someone else. If that happens, that's gonna tell me that I don't really like the mentality of Liquid and like kind of what they're trying to build. But
Doesn't
if
it
like
feel
in the
like
future,
that's what they're hinting at, though? They've had so many different interviews where, like, for example, Stewie2K will say, like, yeah, Grim's just not living up to expectations and he needs to do this and that. Like, they've just come out and said it when they've interviewed after a loss or after a win.
Yeah.
It's like,
My problem is that they took a star player out of a team like Triumph and then tried to put him in a role that is not really a like role in positions that aren't really star player positions.
well, I mean, it was just Nitro left. They needed a player. Grim was hot at the time.
It did feel like a bit like musical chairs, like the old Nip syndrome. We would say, like, "Oh, just replace the 5th from this legendary roster. It'll work out." You know, you get the shit rolls.
So it's just like I don't know. You kind of just need to do something, and that's kind of what they went with.
Yeah,
I think Grim is actually improving though. For one, I think
that he's coming into the role a little bit.
Yeah, he's getting better at it. I'd say that his progress is better than like Kyojin for sure. Like he's he's just miles better. Like Grim can have pop off games that are on his own merit, and like it looks like he's actually playing the game, whereas Kyojin sometimes like he'll just walk into 20 frags sometimes because they went to his bomb site a lot, and everybody
Like-
on Vitality threw good flashes for him. So,
Like to me, like Fallen only like just barely has a better rating than Grim does, from what I see. So
and
it's like to
so-
me that's more of like a problem than like however Grim's playing.
Yeah. I think that if I were to look anywhere, like, dude, safe, like, please, just some tier 1 team needs to get safe. Because I thought safe does safe speak English? Do we know that?
I'm not personally aware, but
I'm
I'm
not sure.
okay.
I'm
Actually.
following your
Okay.
line of logic that replacing Fallen seems like the logical step, which is going to sound really crazy to some people, especially I'm sure you command somewhat a reasonable salary, so it wouldn't be like a cheap acquisition to just drop. The thing is, if
Right.
he's not IGLing and you needed an Opper and an IGL on the team, and now Stewie's IGLing again, why is Fallen in the roster? Like, I'm sure he brings really nice secondary calling, but if he's going to be one of the reasons why, I don't know, man. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me.
All right, let's move on to the question of the week, and we'll all give quick takes on this one because we've got a time limit here. Question of the week is in fact, which TO would you want for the next major?
I mean that
Let's
was
just do
easy
a
for me. So yeah, E-League.
Ooh, throwback.
Okay, all right, Mix. All right. That's honestly, I think that speaks for itself in a lot of ways. Okay, no. What would you do? Who would you want?
Personally, I'd love to see Blast get one just for their production value and the amount they've brought to the game and change stuff up.
Yeah.
Blast is definitely like out of the TOs that like are obviously still in CS at the moment doing shit. Blast would be my pick.
They
My
are
only-
the classic. Yeah.
My only concern with E-League is that a bunch of people who used to work there at WME IMG or whatever the combined group is are now at I think it's Pokemon's new company, like that PR one. Like
Really?
Minsik, who used to
know
work
this.
for Minsik, who was the
Minsik,
commissioner
I'm
of
changing my
E-League, is
answer.
not
I
there
want-
anymore.
I want Pokemon's company to run the next major.
Okay.
Nice. All right.
Prodoga, what is yours?
I'd say Node obviously got the easy one, so he managed to pick Blast. It is almost the obvious choice just because they definitely do have a very unique feel to their event. You have to wonder if maybe there's a world where they are able to level up even on their own formula for the major. This is an example, unlike PGL, where they regularly run tournaments. They're going to be able to have their own UI, their own setup. Everything's field tested and approved. So maybe they can go even a step further. What would they do if they got the major and if they weren't, if they were willing to throw out the cash? I'll say, since Blast is already taken, I'll give a shout out to WePlay. I think they literally could run an actual CSGO major, even though they've barely done anything in CS.
They just did the Animajor for Dota.
Yeah.
And it was crazy.
These guys have the
I was
production
just about to ask
value.
Alex
Yeah.
if he thinks WePlay could ever do one.
I
I
think
thought Alex was
100%.
just gonna shout out WePlay, honestly.
No, okay, so my take was a little different, whereas I think the next one should go to Blast. I think this one, I wish this one were just ESL though. I just wish this were ESL. I think because when we have 2 years of not having a major, I just want the company that I know is going to do a very solid product. Like, it doesn't need to blow up expectations out of the water, but just do the vanilla product as solidly as possible to just do it. And I think that's I put my money on ESL to fill that bill. Regardless of all the multitude myriad issues that we've had with this company over the years, I know they're going to put on paper a great product out there. So I think that
It's the baseline, right?
Yes,
I think that's my issue with ESL. I'm sure it would be banging for like the average person who hasn't watched any CS in the last 2 years and like, oh, Major's back. I like CSGO Majors. I'll watch it. Like, it's the CSGO Super Bowl to some degree. So like people are going to check it out. But I don't know, man. For me, I would be so checked out if I saw that fucking ESL HUD again. That fucking ESL HUD, man. How many times have I seen this? HUD? It's just bad, man. It's just
I think Blast will figure out pretty quickly how good they are with the fall finals. They're going to do the fall finals, and at the end of the year, they're going to do the world finals. The fall finals will be in Copenhagen, so it won't be like it'll be, stadium event, it'll be nice, but the world finals, I think they want to put that in another city. They want to go to another country and do that. And that to me is going to be like, what are you able to do when there's a little bit of adversity?
Sure.
So that's going to show us a lot and tell us a lot about Blast. I think I wouldn't want the next major to be WePlay, but in a year, I think they definitely should be in consideration because
maybe like
I mean,
2023.
It could be the second one of 2022,
2022,
or it could be the first one of 2023. I would love We Play to get it because We Play flat out they just know how to treat talent. They know how to put a unique looking broadcast together. They put together sets. They're Epicenter-esque in the way that they just make sets that are memorable. Like I still remember a lot of the sets from Epicenter and how the trophy looked and how everything looked from those events.
Personally,
I love shit like that.
I'm really looking forward to the Relog Major of 2023, where they're paying Eternal J $15 to cast VO3s.
Can I just say a little inside baseball here? I did actually receive word that somebody in the Relog Major or the Relog company said we're gonna get a Relog Major, boys, and this is like a year and a half ago, bro. This is a long time ago. The fact that they even thought for a second, I don't know if this could just be misinterpreted because some of these guys don't speak English as their first language. They might have been like, yeah, boys, we're going to be so good at this. We're going to get a major someday. But no, I'm pretty sure the phrasing was, don't worry, guys. We got something big lined up, okay? And it's going to be major in size, bro. Don't worry. Like, imagine that company making a major. Imagine.
I wouldn't mind if they put together a LAN and see how they do with that. But
yeah, they will. They'll even tell HLTV to correct the name of it to LAN Sweet LAN.
LAN Sweet LAN.
That's not even a joke. That's literally a thing. So.
LAN Sweet LAN.
Actually the name of their LAN.
They said HLTV, please change your coverage to say LAN Sweet LAN. That's what they did.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. That's gonna be it. Let's close it out there.
Fitting closing note. Yeah.